Oh, we all come into this world crying, but it doesn't mean that we're weak, it just means we're alive. Yeah, we're alive. Oh, somewhere, somehow we all learn to hide it. Don't show the fire in your soul, just keep it inside. Yeah, keep it inside. Oh, hiding away in the darkness. Oh, but the sunlight, it fights to get in. Break down the walls that I built for myself. I'm so vulnerable, I wanna let go. I surrender. I'm tired of fighting the demons inside me forever. The defender, I will lay down my...
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the last Fireside Chat of 2025. I am Ariel Silver. I am the program manager over at the SONA Foundation, and we work in partnership with our friends over at Backline to present this monthly-ish conversation around various mental health ideas, experiences, identity issues, mental health for songwriters and composers, for music creators. And it has been an incredible run of conversations, really deep, poignant, important. I just come out of these monthly sessions feeling like a window has opened where it felt like there was a wall. I feel enriched by the stories that we hear. So I'm really glad that you're here with us today, whether you're here live. Hi, everybody who's live. And or if you're watching this on the replay. And if you've missed some of the past conversations, you can find them all on our website, sonafoundation.com. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization created by songwriters for songwriters, and we create programs and resources and events, some grant funding for songwriters and composers in the areas of mental health, financial wellness, career development, and other needs. So if you are not familiar with us, please pop over to our website and just poke around. It's always changing. We're adding more things all the time, and just really glad to be able to offer these things. If you'd like to stay in the loop with our regular events, we'll send you an email about once a month. And so please do subscribe to the mailing list. It's free to be on the mailing list. It is not a membership-based organization. If you're interested in our sister organization, SONA, which is Songwriters North America, that is a membership-based organization, and you can find information about them at wearesona.com. I think it's .com. Anyway, so today's topic, I heard from so many songwriters and composers as I put the word out about this month's topic of burnout. Just heard from so many people saying, yes, they are feeling it. Here we are in December. It's been a very long year. There's been a lot going on for people on very personal levels, of course, always on statewide, national, community levels, globally, just a lot of dynamicism, I guess. And on top of, just like the lives that we all live, where we're trying to care for ourselves and others and our creativity. So really excited to bring in Tara Lopez, who is our conversation facilitator, and I'm going to bring her in right now. She's from Backline organization, our friends helping the music industry in the area of mental health specifically. So let's bring her on. Hi, Tara.
Hey, how's it going?
Really good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to have this conversation. I think it's very timely, and as you were mentioning, I think all of us are feeling it to an extent. So I think I'm very, very excited for this particular topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I went to this show last night. I go to it every year. It's this the Christmas story told through the music of the Beatles, and it's an all-volunteer, fantastic cast. It's an incredible production. All the money that they raise benefits a local organization, kids in Los Angeles. Every year the organization changes, but at the beginning of the show, they always have some kind of slideshow that like a filmic reflection of some of the things that we've gone through as a just a community, I guess, over the last year. And last night I was sitting in the Dark Theater in Atwater Village here in Los Angeles, and I was so excited to see the show. I was with some friends. Everybody in the audience, or most everybody, has seen the show multiple times. So we've some of us recognize each other. The lights went down, the screen went up, and the depictions were, of course, of the Los Angeles fires earlier this year and the destruction of Altadena and the Pacific Palisades, followed by the national troops in Los Angeles marching down the freeway and ICE raids. And I just sat there in the pews and I was like, the show hadn't even started hardly. And already I was crying just from the recognition that, oh yeah, in addition to the personal level of, all the things, professional, creative, and all of that, we've just had these giant events happening this year. So
yeah,
it's a lot.
It is a lot. And it's really, it's been a year. And I think it's, we have to move so fast that it's kind of, sometimes you just don't even have time to reflect. And so I think
that's right.
That's why these conversations are so important, because it allows us to at least have an hour where we're able to kind of slow it down and talk and just know that we're not alone in feeling that overwhelm or those emotions.
Yeah. And I think doing this particular topic here at the end of the year feels so timely. This is the time of year when a lot of people start reflecting on the last year, where they are now, so that they can kind of set a vision for where they might go in the future. And this idea of burnout, it's not a singular event. It's something that builds up over time, and it carries forward as we try to move forward. So I'm going to kick myself off of the screen so that you can introduce the great work that you guys are doing over at Backline, and then we'll bring all the other folks on to this conversation. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let us know where you're tuning in from. As you probably know, if you've watched these, I'm Tara Lopez. I'm community manager and head of artist partnerships at Backline. And what we do at Backline is we provide mental health and wellness resources for music industry professionals and their family members. And so that's anyone from the artist to the tour crew to the manager, promoter, venue staff, security, and family members. And so today, as you heard, we're talking about burnout, kind of what it even is, how it shows up in your day-to-day, how it can show up in your creativity process, and most importantly, how to prevent it or what to do if you're feeling it. So today we have some very special guests. We have Allison Fay, who's a folk singer-songwriter and actress, influenced by some of my personal favorite artists, Fiona Apple, Annie Lennox, Tracy Chapman. Allison's lyrics center on nature, recovery, and her traveling adventures. We also have Linda Sussman, who's an award-winning singer-songwriter whose music is a mix of alt folk and blues. And Linda has released 6 full-length albums since 2018, which I'm very curious to hear if that has, how that works within this topic that we're talking about today. And then lastly, we have Ari Jacobson, Backline's clinical director. He's instrumental in growing our clinical referral network and so much more. So let's get everyone into the chat. Hi, everyone. How's it going?
Hi there.
Hi. Thanks so much for joining us and for wanting to talk about something that I think is so universal, especially within the music industry and the songwriting community. So really appreciate it. I like to start these chats with just the simple, how are you doing today in this moment?
So I'll go. Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Linda. And how am I doing? I'm exhausted. We can sum it up in one word. I'm exhausted. And yeah, you and Ariel were talking about the landscape and the world we're living in now. And, it is truly exhausting.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I also very much feel that sentiment. Allison, how are you feeling today?
Yeah, thanks, Linda, for starting us off. I also am exhausted mentally, physically, financially, creatively, socially, everything. Every part of my being is just wanting to crawl into a dark place and stay there for a few weeks and just sleep. So I'm really happy to be invited to talk about it. I think the best way to just navigate it is to just talk about it. So yeah,
100%.
thanks for having me here.
Thank you both so much. And Ari, how are you doing today?
I'm okay. I'm on the East Coast and it's 4 p.m. my time and it's already getting dark, which is a whole other situation in of itself. But I'm feeling the end of the year. I'm feeling I'm realizing everything that we've accomplished in this year and now looking into next year, and I'm somewhere stuck in that between of like I'm tired from the year, but also kind of motivated for what's coming next, and very much stuck in between.
Mm. Well, let's kick it off. And I think we all at some level have experienced burnout, are experiencing it at the moment or have. But Ari, can you explain a little bit like what is burnout? What does that even mean?
If we were going to put like a real true definition on what burnout is, it's an emotional and a physical, a cognitive just exhaustion that happens when you're experiencing chronic stress, and also at the same time just recovery or relaxation is just insufficient. You're just not going to have the time to kind of plug your battery back in and get it all the way back up to 100. So it's not just actually being tired, it's actually that feeling of like being depleted, all the way down to your core, to at your nervous system level. Clinically, and in the work that we do in therapy, it shows up in just like an exhaustion. There's a cynicism or a pessimism that kind of exists, and then you also see it very much in like a detachment, or there's this loss of sense that goes with the purpose of the work that you were doing, or even the things that you used to really enjoy and love and find this real enjoyment from. So it's not just like a personal failure that you're feeling this. It's kind of a culmination of just like a whole bunch of pressures that have all happened on top of each other, one on top of one, and then realizing that you just never actually had the opportunity or the time, or even the realization that you needed to address those things, and now they're just piled up so high.
Allison, Linda, does that resonate with you of what Ari and how Ari described burnout? I know both of y'all mentioned you're exhausted, and I'm right there with you, and would love to know how burnout has shown up throughout your career, or is showing up right now for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thanks for that definition too. It's like I know what it means, but having like a clinical definition really helps to hit it home. And for me, when you were talking about like the depletion of my nervous system or of the nervous system, and how relaxation is insufficient, those just were like some real key words and phrases for me to know that I am in fact burnt out. And for me right now, it's juggling the holidays. We have family coming. It's juggling work. I have work that is outside of my creative work. And I also have some of my songwriting work is starting to like ramp up as far as releasing new material. And it just feels as though I'm not really able to dedicate time to anything other than how empty I feel. And so that creates this draw to want to avoid. I sort of mentioned that earlier, of where I just need to like kind of push everything off the table and be like, okay, I need to focus on like my own health and my own recovery and my own sense of wellness before I can really give these other areas of my life any attention, which is unfortunate. It's gotten to that level, but try to be gentle on myself. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to follow up on that before I.
No, please jump in.
Yeah. So it's a little bit different for me, although I know that I've been where you are, Allison, as well. But so I just finished recording a new album about a month ago, and I have noticed a pattern that every time I finish a new project, it's basically I hit a wall. this wall just, is in front of me. Like, it's not now what, because I'm a one-stop shop doing everything from, writing to performing to marketing and all that stuff, as many of us do. But it's like, I don't even want to pick up my guitar. I don't even want to sing. I just want to not necessarily crawl up in a dark place, but what I find from, what I do with that is, okay, I allow myself at this point, I'm senior enough in my life to have experienced different aspects of this. And, but I still don't, I still need guidance. But what I find is that if I allow myself to accept that that's where I'm at, and instead of turning inward, I find, local music and musicians I like to go hear. And I feel that helps replenish me some. So it doesn't have to come from myself, but I can take it in from others. But I still, every single time I finish, I hit that wall, and I just don't I don't have what's left. I guess I've depleted myself in that process of making an album, that I just stop. I stop. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you both so much for sharing. And it's really interesting how burnout can show up in so many different ways for us. Ari, I'd like to know, what are some of the early signs of burnout for those watching? Maybe, Jeff had mentioned in the comments, that's exactly how he's feeling. And so I'd love to know, what are some of the early signs of burnout that folks can maybe try to be aware of?
Linda, I would actually say that a lot of what you're experiencing are those early signs, and that it sounds like, if anything, you've kind of figured out that flip that we all need to or that switch that we all need to flip, that allows us to. You're not going to solve your burnout with just one thing. It's a whole mentality shift where you're going to say, like, all right, I'm intent on resolving this, and then whether that's relaxing and taking some time or trying a new project, but you're going to really start to see that first sign of burnout, especially in the music industry, of this emotional numbness. And also, it's very common to see people who are very laid back suddenly having this like odd irritability. And it's not necessarily this outward, it's almost like this disdain for everything. And that nothing can kind of get right, and everything seems wrong, even things that we've accomplished, even like Linda, looking back at your album that you just finished and going, like, that one note is still irritating me.
Been doing that since.
And it creates this brain fog. And I think of, like, for me especially, like, I get this forgetfulness where I'm like, I forgot to send that email that I never forget to send, or I forgot to lock the door that I never forget to lock. And it's because you're so hyper focused on everything else and not being in the place that you really want, that you'll start to withdraw. You might rely on substances or anything else that just like creates that dopamine hit, that immediate feel of something. But kind of like Linda said, once you can figure out what that switch is, even if it's something very small, like taking a walk or going to see a local show, it just kind of tells your brain of like, we're stuck in this moment now, but this is what's telling us that we're going to start at least putting that effort into work out of it.
Something that you mentioned earlier, Ari, the pessimism that can kind of come from burnout really resonated. That's like how I felt all year last year was that pessimism, and didn't even realize until much later, like, oh, I'm really, really tired, and I'm not creating my best work because I'm so exhausted. So I'd love to ask Linda and Allison, when you're feeling that way, Linda, you mentioned after an album, you step away completely. Allison, I'd like to know also, Linda, too, while you're creating and do you experience that if you're feeling that way, you step away, or do you try to push through the songwriting process? How does that look for you?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Allison.
Okay. I feel like there's a lot of different layers for me, how it shows up. Like if I'm already in that really burnt out place, it's just really hard to come back to the guitar or the piano. Although I will say that, like, as I have done a lot more healing this year, especially, I've done a lot of healing and a lot of discovering tools that work for me. So even if it's just 5 minutes of just like plucking or like plunking along, just to like use my body to like physically touch the instrument most of the time, or just humming, most of the time, that will get me out of some type of spiral. And then I'm able to, but I did a lot of recording this year, actually, earlier on in the year. And I did push through. There were a few moments where I was like, this is too overwhelming. It's too much. And I really only did that because I phoned a friend and like used the tool of reaching out to, I guess I can never think my way out of the spiral. I always have to either move my body or call a friend. Yeah, that seems to be the only way that I can push through. It's like, it's not my own like mind, I guess, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Mhm.
Linda, how about you?
Yeah. So I just want to clarify one thing that I said. So when I say I don't even want to pick up my guitar, so that's I don't want to, but I don't allow myself that. What I do is I don't go out and perform, but within, the house, I might not pick it up all day, but where my guitars are, it's on my way to our bedroom, another room. And there, I walk down the hall, and no matter what time, 11, 12, whatever at night, and I always stop in. And so it could be a 5-minute stopover. It could be a 45-minute stopover, but the wall that I hit is taking myself out to play. Yeah, but in terms of what you were asking, Tara, my process is I'm not writing for an album, so I'm not writing along the way of recording. So I've got all of my songs all done, but my studio musicians, I'm working with them, and I've been working with the same folks for a long time. They really get my music. They know me. They know what I like. I don't push back too much. I've learned that it's okay for me to give guidance. As a woman in a man's industry, it's okay to give guidance. And
Right.
I have conquered that hurdle, which was hard at one point in my career.
Good for you. That really
Yeah.
resonates with me. I'm still kind of, trying to figure out when to push back, when to speak up, with some of my bandmates, and just like the direction and guidance. So I get that.
Yeah.
Allison, you mentioned earlier that you are practicing self-compassion
Mm.
and really trying to harness that for yourself, and while on your healing journey. And I'd like to just kind of ask, how do you practice that self-compassion? And Linda, for you as well, on a daily basis.
Yeah, I really have to take like action items in the morning. When I'm doing the things that work for me, I'll take 5 to 10 minutes, even before I have coffee, before I check in with my cat or my partner, and I'll close my office door. I'll lay down on my yoga mat and I'll breathe for 5 to 10 minutes. Sometimes I don't love doing this, but sometimes I need to cancel commitments. If I've like stacked my schedule too high, and, that happens every now and then. Holidays are a prime example of just being like, you know what, I'm really sorry. I scheduled this when I was in a place where I thought I could take it all on. I'm just not. And most of the time people are really understanding, or maybe it works out for them too. And I learned that like talking to myself nicely is a sometimes really hard skill. It's being like, it's okay. You're doing a good job. You're okay. And then it's just like basic. It was hard for me to learn this for whatever reason. But like going to bed at a reasonable hour, and like getting enough sleep, and eating enough vegetables, and not eating a ton of sugar all the time. And like, like it comes down to being like, okay, I'm an adult and I have to sort of adult myself here. getting out of the habits of like, oh, I feel a certain way, let's have a Reese's. That dopamine hit that Ari was talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, some days are better than others. And, my therapist will remind me every week of like, let's be nice to yourself or have self-compassion or be gentle on yourself, things like that. And also just like, lastly, like knowing that like wherever I am at, it's okay. Like there are places that I want to get to. There are career places that I want to get to that I haven't gotten to yet. And like knowing that it's okay to be where I'm at really, really helps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can I jump in on that for a sec? So Allison, I mean, that is just such a gem of what we all aspire to live by, is really to accept, okay, I am here, I have these expectations, I have to manage my expectations, but I need to be kind to myself along the way, and sometimes it's really hard. I find myself at times being really impatient, and I might look at what other music colleagues are doing, and I'm like, oh, why didn't I think of that, or why aren't I doing that? And then I'm like, because I'm not them. I have to remind myself, but with a kindness, as opposed to berating myself for not also doing X, Y, or Z. So for me, I really try as hard as I can to let myself off the hook. Otherwise, I will just stay in that spiral and spin there.
You bring up a great point, because I mean, especially with social media and just how on we are all expected to be in this industry, it's really tough to not compare and then really bring yourself down by that comparison. So I think it is so important what both of you are talking about, of being kind to yourself, reminding yourself that where you're at is okay. You're doing great, which can be really tough at times to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Cameron actually asked a really great question for both of you. Do you find that you experience burnout more in the winter season when things are slowing down, when maybe you have more time to kind of check in with yourself?
It's funny. I had the total opposite. Up until this week, I was like running on rocket fuel. I don't know what it was. I was so energized. I think, and I was like, why is everyone talking about stillness and the winter and cold? I mean, I'm in Vermont, so it's like, it's cold, it's dark, I get it. But this year I was like, not me. I'm not still. And I don't know, maybe I just didn't have time to check in with myself. I probably should have, because now I really need it. Now I'm like, I really need some stillness. I don't know if that answered your question, but
yeah,
I think I think this particular holiday, because we're hosting, has got a lot of added stress to it.
Linda, did you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I that honestly, in terms of seasonality, that doesn't resonate for me.
Okay.
So it really just depends on really how busy I've been and how hard I've been pushing, and that could be at any time of the year.
Ari, what can people do, or actually, what can it look like if folks, Allison was talking about like, oh, I should probably check in with myself, and I've been there as well. What can happen if folks don't do that and they just try to like push through the burnout? How can that look?
Oh gosh, if you push through the burnout too much and you don't give yourself any grace and to come back and actually allow yourself to recharge, your battery's going to eventually just stop working. And that's where you see people kind of have what the social term would be like a crash out, or they just kind of crash and they might sleep for a couple of days. Mentally, their battery is just at zero, and they're trying to do 100% worth of energy with 0% of the battery. It brings up that interesting idea of like, when do you work, or like what's the difference between needing to work hard and also being mindful of burnout, and when does that kind of, when does that line blur? And when you're thinking about that, it all comes down to just that idea of the purpose that you're getting from the work that you're doing and your ability to actually recover. So burnout's going to feel restless, and there's going to be this weight, and you might be able to sleep in one day or take a nap or have a day without responsibility, but like nothing seems to resolve. And it's because you haven't actually shifted your focus. You're just delaying more stress, or you're delaying whatever it is. The grind, or like the actual like work for it, it comes with that idea of like, I feel like I'm getting that purpose, and even when I'm tired, I still feel like I'm doing something that I'm really proud of, or like even not just proud of, like I'm working and I'm feeling like I'm progressing. So when I'm with clients and we're talking about burnout, the question is always, do you feel tired or do you feel done? And if you feel done, then we kind of need to put something on a pause and not start over, but even like Allison and Linda were saying, like pick up the guitar and play for 5 minutes that you will never record. That is a different part of your brain. It's a different intention you're creating for yourself rather than creating for other people. Maybe it's saying no to a meeting one day, and that way you can lie on your floor like I do too sometimes, and just 5 minutes and stare at a blank ceiling, because it just allows me to feel grounded. It's the idea of getting yourself back into the energy level that you need to be able to actually do the things that you feel like you need to do.
Right.
Allison, Linda, what Ari was talking about, and feeling like those pressures sometimes to, instead of just picking up a guitar for the sake of picking up a guitar, there is, I think we live in a society, and also we work in an industry where you do feel that pressure to constantly create something, to constantly put something out. What does the word productivity mean to you? Has it changed, over time throughout your career? Has the concept of productivity changed for you?
Well, I can say that it definitely has for me, because early in my career, I was not releasing music for radio or, what have you. I was just playing to play. And at times, more in my like the last decade or whatnot, I have to remind myself I play to play, and I create music because without it, I feel I've used this phrase before, and not to freak anyone out, but if I'm not playing music, I feel dead inside. And I went 10 years, 10, 12 years, when I was being diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. They couldn't pinpoint what it was and had to treat me. And I went 10 years not playing until my doctors got me righted again. And when I didn't touch the guitar, it just collected dust in the corner of my room. And those entire 10 years, I felt like I had just died. And not because of my condition that I had developed, but because I didn't have my music. And I've always had music. I've always been a player since I'm 12 years old. It's who I am. It doesn't define me, but it is much of me. So now I've lost the thread and I forget where we started.
No, but
that's okay. It's just a conversation.
Linda, you bring up a really interesting thought that I just want to hop in. Sorry, Tara.
No, please.
I ruptured my Achilles a year and a half ago, and I have played sports my entire life, and also my Achilles, you're moving around. And one of the first conversations that my surgeon had with me was, he's like, listen, you're not a professional athlete. You're not getting professional athletic training. He's like, I'm not saying you're never going back to sports, but like your ability is going to really change. And one of the things you really need to start thinking about is like how you're going to find that space for yourself when you're not playing sports every week. And I said to him, as a mental health therapist, I was like, I just want you to know how like important it is that you even asked me that question, because nobody else was going to ask me what I was going to fill my time and fill this purpose that I've lost in theory. And I just, especially with burnout, it's very rare to get diagnosed with burnout. No one's coming to you and going like, there it is.
Right.
So there's nobody to come back and say to that conversation of like, I think about, we talk so much about prevention. So being able to get in there and like say, make sure you schedule time the way you would practice and you would rehearse for a show. You also need to take some deep breaths and do 10 minutes of time for yourself. Like we talk a lot about prevention, but we talk nothing about postvention. So now you've recognized, oh, I'm burnt out, or oh, I'm not feeling 100%. Now what? And there's just very little time where somebody's like, hey, it's okay that you're burnt out. You're working hard. Take a day off. And I know that you can't take a day off because you're on the road. So how about instead of taking the day off, have lunch by yourself where you can do something for yourself. Like let's take an hour, let's take 10 minutes. And just nobody actually has that conversation about that postvention rather than just preventing everything. And then when we don't prevent something, it can feel like we failed because we weren't able to actually stop something from happening. So
I think that's so powerful, Ari. I think just being able to feel like you're in a space safe enough to tell maybe your bandmate or your friend or your partner, like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I don't know if I want to do this right now. I think, I've been in the industry for a long time, and I feel like for a lot of it, that was just like taboo. You just kept going. You couldn't admit that you were exhausted on the road, like, or else someone would take that spot from you. And so I love that we're having these conversations, and hopefully it'll just continue to normalize these type of conversations where it is acknowledged that this is hard work. You're not always going to be on, and you're supported through that. Allison, how has productivity, the concept overall, changed for you? Or if it has, how has it evolved?
Honestly, that's it's a tough question. When Linda was sharing, it was really nice to hear your experience with productivity. And I've not really thought about that, to be honest. I don't really know how to answer that question. I feel like I will set a goal for myself and then I'll get distracted. Maybe I'll reach that goal. Like I have a Substack and I'm like, okay, I want to do one post a month, which seems really reasonable. But then I have another job that I do and I put that in front of my writing creativity. Or I'll say, okay, I want to book X amount of gigs for the next season. And then, so this productivity idea is sort of a moving target. And not to be like super down on myself, but it does feel like it's hard to, with the world the way it is, with so many things coming at us in the news every second, being a sensitive person, being susceptible to burnout, being susceptible to just feeling like the grief of the world right now, productivity on like just trying to, I guess, name it, is something that I might need to spend time reflecting on.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think that's very, very, honest, and that resonates a lot with me as well. So let's talk about rest then, which was a word for me personally that was like a scary word for a very long time. It was like the last thing that I wanted to cultivate and be comfortable with. Which took a long time for me to get to a place where I'm finally like, oh yeah, I need to prioritize. How is your relationship? Ari, this is for you as well. What's your relationship like with rest? Do you allow it? Do you embrace it? Do you fight it? Linda, how are you? What's your relationship like with rest?
I allow myself a good amount of rest. I do. But never in terms of, or not often in terms of resting fully, because there's always that little voice in my head that says I should be X. And it's what I do with that voice, right? It's just always there. And as a songwriter, I am constantly writing. And I am not constantly performing, but I am certainly constantly writing, and I am often recording. So it's I'm always thinking, well, okay, I am writing, but I have to then get it out, out to share with other people. unless it's just noodling at the end of the night and picking up my guitar for me. So I rest, but there's always that little voice in there that's like, but you should be doing X. And, as a one where I don't know about your situations, but as a one-stop shop, there's always something to do and there's always more to do. And there's always what I also want to do. So
Yeah, I have the same relationship with rest. I love it. It's so yummy. And then I always have something in the back of my mind, like I forgot something, or I should, I got to remember this. I've got to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do try to give myself enough sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that is like a hard line for me, is like, I need to make sure that I have wind down time as much as I can. Sometimes it's hard with shows or gigs or whatever, but enough time to like just give myself time to like settle from the day, and then I like move into sleep mode.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ideal for me.
Mm-hmm.
There probably could be more opportunities for rest throughout the day.
Ari, what about you as a clinician? How do you prioritize rest?
I would argue it's the unfair advantage of our field, of my field of mental health. I started this career under supervision with the therapist that was supervising me had been in the field for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so every week I'd have to meet with her for supervision. And the first thing we always talked about was, what did I do for myself that week? And just like, how did I do something? And that's honestly when I was back to going to a lot of shows, or even just teaching myself again to play the piano and like figuring out little things like that. But, I think back when I was in grad school, I was forced to take a meditation class. It was one of my classes that I didn't get to pick. I was very against it. I thought I was going to get nothing out of it. And it was a summer class, so it happened twice a week. And the first class of the week was practice, and the second class was like class. Tuesday, Thursday. And halfway through the semester, I realized that my Wednesdays were like fantastic. And I was relaxed and I was productive. And I realized that it was all this just like little micro meditations, a body scan, before we hop onto a call, taking some deep breaths and just like grounding myself. So I was forced into understanding that I needed to have this little bit of rest, and that I've seen that when I don't have it, I just kind of like, I don't want to say crumble, but I just become very isolated in myself, and I'm not proud of what I'm doing. So I work really hard to stay away from that. And Linda, my supervisor, used to always say, she would always say, like, you can try and do all the work that you have, but you're always just going to have something else to do later down the road. So it would be like Friday afternoon, and I'd be sitting there doing something, and she'd be like, go home.
Right.
You will come and you have stuff to do. Like, that is not due today. And I was like, but I'm in a rhythm. She's like, get out of here. Like,
Yeah.
we'll be here. So I tell clients, even people who are on the road, like, I know that you don't get 3 years. I got 3,000 hours of supervision. And I know that people on the road don't get that, or in this industry in general, but like making sure that even if it's like, if I'm headlining and there's an opener on, taking 10 minutes while their opener on is to sit in a room sitting in a bathroom and just like allowing myself to gather myself, or forcing some moment of something into every week, every day, is just proven very effective. Very, very effective.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Those are small, tangible things that we can do throughout the day to re-energize or just check in with ourselves.
Right.
I know that we only have a few minutes left, so I definitely want to ask Allison and Linda, what do you wish you had known about burnout maybe earlier in your career?
I think for me, it would be like, I liked what Ari was just talking about with these like recurring mini moments. I feel like I get into the habit of the overwhelm of the big picture, of like, I have an EP that I want to release. So I need to get my musicians in line, get the marketing in line, get the shows in line, get the tour. And it's like I haven't even started to record it and I'm still learning the songs. Like learning how to quiet my mind with these mini check-ins each day, just a little something bite-sized, because I just get into these places of like, well, if I have this huge goal, then I have to do this huge self-care routine too. So to kind of like enter the gray area, not be so black and white with it. I wish I had learned that first. And also like giving myself the grace of like being okay with failure, not failure, but like being okay as a newbie or a beginner, or there was a time when I had released some music and I like stopped playing for a number of years because I just was overwhelmed with what I expected from myself and what I wanted the results to be. And then COVID happened. So that was a whole other thing. But I guess taking it like more bite-sized, and I'm saying this to myself for my past versions and also for myself sitting in this chair of like, what's today, Thursday? Christmas is next week. Like maybe I can just be okay with just a little, a bite-sized version of what I need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I totally get that, Allison. It's very well said. And for me, what I think I would have, if I had had the wisdom or some of the wisdom back when, I would have really liked to have known that I don't need to do it all at once. And I think that's what you were saying, Ari, a lot of what you were saying, or what we've all been saying is, we can't, take these Herculean efforts and expect to go from here to there, and we don't know what the journey is along the way. And so I at this point really am relaxing into the things that I can do, and just accepting that's where I am, but my younger self would have been too impatient.
But it's so important finding that thing that really resonates with you. Like, I cannot do yoga. It is just not something I enjoy. I've tried to do it as a relaxation, but I focus so much on how much I just genuinely dislike it. And it's just not for me. But I also realize that my attention span is not, like, I struggle with a 30-minute meditation because my mind wanders. And I also dropped a link in the chat just because, Jeff, you had asked about ways in terms of what rest means. And that book is an 8-week meditation, which also has micro meditation. So there's things of 1-minute body scans, or there's a whole very famous meditation about putting a raisin in your mouth and just letting the raisin disintegrate and feeling the different parts of the raisin. It's called the raisin meditation. But you find these little quick things that
so
that
cool.
feel very, it's all you're trying to do is to bring yourself out of the external and bring it into the internal to recognize what's going on. And once you can recognize how you're feeling, then you can start to control it. If you don't know what's going on, you're never going to be able to control it. And burnout, anxiety, stress, they're all based on just understanding where you are right now. And is this where I want to be right now? Or am I past where I need to be and I need to rein it in a little bit? Or am I still getting there and I have a little bit more to give? And when you can start negotiating that with yourself, then you're also going to be honest with yourself about like, oh, I do need 5 minutes to myself. And that's why, because now I'm putting myself first, which then also supports the people behind me.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of think that that's a great way to wrap up. That's great advice. And I'm definitely going to get that book. I want to try the raisin meditation.
I love that.
I've never heard that.
If you type in raisin meditation on Google, I'm sure it's probably the first thing to come up.
It's awesome.
That is.
Definitely doing that.
Yeah.
I want to thank you all so much, Allison, Linda, for talking and for sharing your insights. I know that this is it's been a year, and like it's been, I think life, especially in the industry, just is so constant that sometimes it's really tough to even have a moment to kind of reflect on like, oh yeah, this all happened.
Yeah.
So conversation, I'm so grateful for conversations like these that kind of allow that space. And also just the feeling of, we're all in this together. We're all feeling this in some capacity. So it's really nice to know that none of us are alone in this. So really, really grateful for your insights. And Ari, so grateful as always with your, your insights, your tips, and just kind of your like very honest, advice as to how we can handle this. So
Yeah.
thank you all so much.
Thank you for
It was
having
so
us.
helpful for me to hear you and listen
Yeah.
and be in this space. I told Ariel when she invited me that I was way too busy feeling burnout. And she goes, maybe you should just come talk. And I'm so glad I did.
Oh, I love that.
I'm always on mute when I pop in. Allison, I'm just popping in to say I'm so glad you did, because I really valued what you had to share, and so thank you for being part of it.
For having me. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
Also, Linda, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ariel.
Yeah. Tara, one thing that I was thinking about as you all were talking was something that has been helpful for me. I feel like it took me my whole life until maybe a year ago to realize it, is that a day is a unit of measurement, and it can, just like, a gallon of water, or a pint of something, like, it's just a unit of measurement, and it can only hold so much. And I was feeling overwhelmed because and that was leading to, just a constant feeling of not enough, not enough time. I was insufficient in some way because I couldn't manage to get it all. And it was like, oh, I'm trying to cram more into this measurement container than is possible to cram into this space. And when I realized that, and I acknowledged, like, a day is what a day is, just like a gallon container is what it is, I stopped trying to do that. And so I wanted to add that to the conversation. It's been really helpful for me.
I was going to say, I love that. And I have never thought about it in that way. But I think when you break it down like that, it really allows room for self-compassion and room for just like, yeah, that's just not even possible to complete everything in a day, or, to give yourself some grace in that we're not able to finish every single thing, or complete every single task. So I love that. That's very,
Yeah.
very cool.
And a day and a week and a month and a year. Someone had said to me, oh, I remember thinking about this at the beginning of the pandemic. So almost 6 years ago, someone had said to me that you can do less in a year than you expect and more in 3 years than you expect. And I think it was the beginning of I was kind of pissed about that at first. I was like, what do you mean? I could do a lot in a year, and I could do it all in a year. But I kept it in the back of my mind and gave myself a lot of grace at the end of that year. And then 3 years later, I kind of checked in with myself, like, okay, well, it was an easy time container to remember because it had been the beginning of 2020 that I heard that, and that was a memorable moment in time. And I was like, oh yeah, I have done more, or more has happened in this 3-year period than I was expecting. Even though the 1-year slice, it takes a while to integrate new learning and to synthesize all the experiences that we have, and then to churn it into whatever it's going to become next. So
Gosh, I really loved this conversation. I loved everyone's honesty and vulnerability, and just, it was really nice to just be in a space to hear people even admit, like, yeah, I'm exhausted, which is just not a lot of times. You just don't really hear that from folks in the industry. And so it's really, I just love these conversations because it is a place where it's like, okay, we can actually be real for a moment and like talk about the things that we're struggling with, or the things that we're dealing with. And so,
yeah,
it was nice. It was really, really helpful.
I wanted to ask you how this conversation can inform your next week or two, as we're looking at the last, the last week and a half, last 2 weeks of the year. And it's a different sort of time than like, the middle of October, or something like that. It's a special time. How is this going to inform your schedule or inform what you do?
I mean, that's a great question. I think honestly, it's just a reminder that I need to appreciate, rather than feeling restless or feeling like, things aren't happening as fast as I want them to. It's a reminder to slow down and to be grateful for this stillness, which is not always easy, but really, really important for me to remember that this time is necessary to restore, to be re-energized, to kind of just check in and reassess, and hopefully prevent that burnout that we were just talking about. So I think for me, it's just, again, a reminder of like, okay, things are going to slow down, and that's not a bad thing. In the past, I thought it was, and now it's like, no, I think it's necessary.
Well, now you're making me think about another conversation that we had earlier in this series on anxiety, because I think that, when I think about like this particular holiday season, I'm not traveling, and my kids are grown up and moved away. I'm not doing anything. I'm not really going out. I'm going to go for hikes, and I'm working on doing some recording and things like that. But it's in a much more organic, easygoing kind of way than maybe in holiday seasons past.
Yeah.
But I think that there's like a certain amount of anxiety that I have felt in the past too, when I have not been highly scheduled. And maybe that's a result of like a highly scheduled childhood or something like that, when like, you kind of, there's so many kids that are running on exhaustion, it's they're going from early in the morning through school, through the activities after school. And that was similar to my childhood as well. And I wonder if that sort of creates this discomfort. Like we stack up a lot of stuff in our schedules, we lead to burnout. And I see Allison behind the scenes like nodding her head. Allison, I want to bring you back on here for a second. Can I do that? Yeah, let's see here. I think she's saying yes. Allison, you're nodding your head. You're
I'm nodding vigorously. I just did a show. I do a lot of theater stuff too, and I was working with the kids doing costumes for a high school production of Chicago. And just the show alone was massive, a massive undertaking. But then on top of that were so many classes and so many responsibilities and grades and tests. And then just like being a person and like getting to bed on time. And I just was like, why are we creating our lives like this from school age up until however, for how long? It's like, why are we choosing this? Why are we choosing to do this? Like we can make different choices. We can create different like syllabus styles. There's probably a lot of politics in the school that I'm not like really wanting to get into right now, but it just struck me as like exhausting for these kids, probably exhausting for their parents, exhausting for the administrators, and like we're not getting paid enough, So it's like all of these things compounding. It's no wonder we're exhausted all the time and like stressed and anxious and frantic. It's okay to like take time and take space and like focus on one thing and then do another thing. Like this like worship of ambition is really something that struck me. And I think it's great to have purpose and drive and ambition, but I think it kind of crosses a line where it's just like every waking moment is full of something. Doesn't seem healthy to me. So that's why I was getting really excited when you were talking, Ariel.
Thank you. I'm glad we brought you back in for that addendum. And the solution is not to nix the musical theater program, right?
Exactly, which is like what is happening.
Right. And we don't need to necessarily know the answer to how to fix the problem. Like a lot of times we don't want to even look at a problem because we don't yet have the solution to solving it. But just to acknowledge this, like, oh, there is this exhaustion that starts, and we are trained from an early age to run on empty. And then no wonder as adults, we encounter these moments of burnout where we're just running on fumes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Allison.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Yeah. And Tara, thank you so much. This was the last fireside chat of the year. Definitely, I just got a new journal. I just came to the end of my current journal, and I'm starting a new one. And I usually go through about one a season, so this is right on time. This winter solstice is coming up, and no doubt the next couple of weeks are going to be filled with lots of reflection and digestion of whatever this whole year has kind of laid,
Yeah.
laid at the doorstep.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you've inspired me to get a new journal as well, as mine is filling up. But yeah, I really do hope that you're able to have just time to reflect and to be still and to enjoy the stillness. I'm trying to remind myself to enjoy it and embrace it. So.
Yeah. Well, I send you good wishes for that. I know there's a lot going on at Backline, so you guys have a lot going on, but I hope that you can find those moments of stillness.
Thank you so much. Likewise.
If we don't talk before the end of the year, happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Thank you so much. Happy New Year.
Thank you. All right. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here, for participating in the chat. It was a really interesting chat. Lots of great comments. So really appreciate that. And for all the folks that contributed to that. And if you're watching the replay, I hope that you add your own thoughts to the conversation. You can, of course, stay in contact with us and communication with us. Always reach out at hello@sonafoundation.com. Join the mailing list so that you can know what the next fireside chat is going to be about and the other events that we have coming down the pike, including the Wellness Fest for the SONA Foundation. That will be an in-person half-day retreat at a beautiful local recording studio hosted by Grammy winners Brian Kennedy and Angelique Sinaloa. And it's going to be a day filled with yoga and breath, conscious conversation, creativity workshops, fresh juices, and lunch, really delicious lunch. So if you're interested in that and you're going to be in the LA area at the beginning of January, check out the I think I need to get it up on the website actually now as I'm saying this. But make sure that you're on the mailing list as well, and you'll hear more about that. Take good care. Have a wonderful holiday season and Happy New Year.
We are coming to this world crying, but it doesn't mean that we're weak, it just means we're alive. Yeah, we're alive. Somewhere, somehow we all learn to hide it. Don't show the fire in your soul, just keep it inside. Yeah, keep it inside. Hiding away in the darkness. Oh, but the sunlight, it fights to get in. Break down the walls that I built for myself. I'm so vulnerable, I wanna let go. I surrender. I'm tired of fighting the demons inside me forever. The defender, I will lay down my arms, throw my hands up and say I surrender. Surrender. We all feel pain in this life. outside, waiting for something outside of ourselves to allow us to fly. Yeah, permission to shine. Oh, but something in me is desperate for peace. I long to feel safe on